Following the suspension of his campaign due to security concerns, the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress in the forthcoming Anambra election, Senator Andy Uba, finally kicked off his electioneering across the state this week. The former senator and ex-presidential aide, who is better known as Andy Uba, is leaving no stone unturned to ensure that he crisscrosses the length and breadth of the state and convince the electorate to vote for him. However, the normally taciturn and media-shy politician will certainly have his work cut out, as his party, the APC, has remained hugely unpopular despite past attempts to make inroads in Anambra, who also have to contend with political heavyweights such as Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, candidate of the ruling All Progressives Grand Alliance, and Val Ozigbo of the People's Democratic Party, who both have more grassroots support in the state. Well, to discuss his plans for Anambra and his chances of winning in his third attempt to govern the state, we're now being joined from Awka by the Director, Media and Publicity of the Andy Uba Campaign Organization, Honorable Afam Ogene. Honorable Ogene is a member of the APC and former Deputy Chairman, Media and Public Affairs of the House of Representatives. Good morning and welcome to the morning show, Honorable Ogene.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
Well, Afam, it's good to see you again. Long time since you...
Yeah, Doctor.
As they say, you joined them.
It's good to see you. I see you almost every day, but virtually.
Well, yesterday we had Sidon Adinuba on this program, our colleague, and now working for the governor of Anambra State. And he was saying that your candidate is not even a candidate in this Anambra election, and that we should forget about any possibility. What's your response to that? And truly, what are Andy Uba's chances in this November 6th gubernatorial election in Anambra State?
Well, thank you, Doc, and thank you, the crew, for having me this morning. You know, some few months back, the talk in town was that Dr. Andy Uba was not campaigning. And then we got to Anambra and started our campaigns, grassroots-based. And now they're taking it back to quarrel about primaries that was concluded 4 months ago. With 9 days to an election, with INEC having published its final list of candidates, with the number of new entrants into our party, a commissioner and spokesman of a campaign is talking about the fact that Senator Andy Uba is not a candidate. That is far-fetched. I don't know what would make him to come to such conclusions. It only shows that Dr. Uba is the candidate to beat, and ABGA and their other appendages are scared of his stature, and so are trying to look. It's fault-finding and fishing for what the lawyers will call forum shopping in the courts. They're fishing for what to lay their hands on. But certainly the primaries of All Progressives Congress, none of them participated in it, and it's not their call to say whether he's a candidate. The people of Anambra know that Igwebike, which is his moniker, is not just a candidate, but actually the leading candidate in the November 6 elections.
Right, so your principal is the candidate of the ruling party, and usually federal might is a huge asset. Then add to that the recent decamping of the deputy governor in Okeke and State House of Assembly members, 8 in number, to APC. On the other hand, there is a perception that the ruling party is unpopular in Anambra State as a result of agitations by organizations like IPOB. How do you intend to balance that out and use that federal might to your favor, if it's at all possible in Anambra State?
First of all, I'd like to correct an impression which you gave in your opening remarks before I took that question, where you talked about political heavyweights and you mentioned Professor Charles Soludo, candidate of ABGA. Soludo is reputed in oratory and economic theories. But there is a wide gulf between theories and reality. The same Soludo has run for governor twice, and he didn't make it. He had also tried to be vice presidential candidate of some parties. He didn't sail through. He has not won a competitive election, either as councillor or whatever, as against somebody who not only won an election in 2007, but only recently was a two-term senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In terms of experience, Dr. Uba has more experience than all the other close candidates put together, including the PDP candidate. And then you say that they have grassroots support. I wonder where these grassroots supports are. APC today has 5 members of the House of Representatives, 8 members of the House of Assembly, a senator. Those are actually the roots of the grass. So the people who control the grassroots are actually with APC and Dr. Uba and not the other way around.
But if your candidate, like you said, has everything going for him, why is he still trying to be governor? Why hasn't he been governor yet? You know, you said he won an election in 2007. We all know what happened. Why has he not become governor yet? And what is this thing? What is it about, you know, the Anambra governorship seats that makes him keep coming over and over and over again? What is it that is it because of the love for the people? Or what is it really?
Well, if you listen to testimonies of people of the Southeast, especially Anambra people, during his tour of duty in the villa between 1999 and 2007, when he served under the Obasanjo presidency. Besides helping people of the Southeast, you know, to get into positions of authority, here is somebody who was always ready and able to lend a lending ear to any problem, especially with the businessmen. When they had issues to do with policies, his intervention was there. Only the other day, Uwazurike of Masob, you know, talked about how he was able to calm the Masob agitations. I think that with somebody like Dr. Andy Uba in the saddle, all the agitations we hear and see will be something that he can conveniently handle. In 2007 that you talked about, he won an election. It was a tenure interpretation case of former Governor Peter Obi that got him out of the seat when the Supreme Court ruled that Peter's tenure was still running. And then when you say, what is it? Why hasn't he become governor? He has become senator, which is also close to, that means taking charge of 1/3 of the state twice. And in politics, you know, it's about public service. He still has the strength, the tenacity, the stamina to offer service to the people of Anambra State. Have you wondered why all these political players are coming into the APC since he emerged candidate? That should tell you that Andy Uba has something to offer. And lastly on this, there are 2 contending issues in the Anambra election. One is a group which feels that we are confronted with a problem. You talk about alienation and marginalization, and their answer to it is for us to go into our ethnic cocoon. But conventional wisdom teaches that when you are in a hole, you stop digging and look for solution. So the Gwebike strength in the strength in the people, the Gwebike mantra that he is promoting is talking about getting us to work together with other parts of Nigeria. And I think that is where to go. If ABGA is saying that this is an Igbo party, how come they have not been able to plant any seed in any of the other 4 Southeast states? How come even the original promoters of ABGA are no longer with them, such that it has become, it's now being micromanaged by people from the governor's ethnic area in the state. So APGA essentially has deceived our people with the slogan of "this is our own." How can it be our own? Is Anambra the only state in the entire southeast? And what have we gotten out of it? You cry marginalization. If you are not where the cake is baked, I don't think that you have a right to ask for more than your chunk of it. But when you participate, just like other zones are doing, you can be sure that when the things are shared on the table, you'll be right there where decisions are taken. Right now, if my governor goes to Abuja for any meeting, at the end of the meeting, the Progressive Governors Forum hold their meetings, PDP Governors Forum hold their meetings, and he goes home. All that things that they talk about to get for their states, he's not part of it because he is man alone.
Afam, well, you've mentioned the Igwebuike twice. This was the 10-point agenda that Senator Andy Uba promised in September. 2 days ago, that 10-point agenda was unveiled. Could you take us through the specifics in terms of what Senator Andy Uba is proposing as his own, engagement, contract with the people of Anambra, in the Anambra, as we call it?
Well, the 10-point agenda, only 2 days ago, we met with the Ohanaeze Ndigbo Anambra State chapter in Awka. And even from the good testimonials that we got from the president of the association, recalling the various positive roles that Dr. Uba played way back that I referred earlier in the interview, was, yes, they said they are not into the business of endorsements, but having said that, he's one of the most experienced in the field, and that everything qualifies him to be governor. Now, talking about his manifesto, manifestos are social contracts, and Dr. Uba believes that first and foremost, the local government system must work. And everywhere we have been on campaigns, I think we have done about 15 local governments now, leaving about 6. Every point is beginning to sound to the people as if, why is he so, engrossed with the local government administration? For 8 years, all the local government funds in Anambra State go to the governor. And the local governments are giving 5 million naira to pay salaries. Meanwhile, no infrastructure is going on in these local governments. So Dr. Uba feels and has repeatedly stated that within the first 6 months of his coming to power, he will conduct a local government elections. And when you have properly conducted local government elections, and that's a tier of government is alive and well, all the agitations you see would have reduced by at least 40 to 50%, because you now have people gainfully engaged in the local government, and you don't have to be rushing to the state capital for whatever you need. He also talks about the fact that another way to deal with the issues of insecurity, the growing issues of insecurity, is jobs, jobs, and more jobs. And given his contacts all over the country, he's on first-name basis with all the leading captains of industry in this country. And I can tell you that some of them are already talking with him and willing and able and ready to deploy to Anambra State to site factories. How many factories, besides the privately driven factories in Nnewi, and some few that former Governor Peter Obi attracted? Governor Willie Obiano has not done anything in that regard. If you talk about education, Anambra people are naturally gifted. Dr. Uba is talking about quality education, especially for the rural folks. That it is not just now when the rains come, the school season is over for most parts of the states, especially those in the riverine areas. He is talking about how to devise means, even, using the internet to ensure that they have quality education, especially for the the children in the rural areas. So I may not begin to recount all the 10-point agenda, but if you talk about security itself, is something that he has talked about. Yes, at a point we got security right, but right now you can see what happened with the insecurity in Anambra State. At a point, the governor had helicopters, drones, surveillance cameras, and then all of a sudden, the streets became unsafe. He even bought horses and dogs, and people were wondering, now that these items are needed, what happened to them? We haven't seen any of the horses, we haven't seen the dogs. And people jokingly asked on the streets of Oka, has these horses and dogs been eaten? Until date, there is no answer to that from the governor and his team. So Dr. Ba is talking about how to rejig the security apparatus in the state, which has almost collapsed under the weight of current Governor Willie Obiano.
Right. So the philosophy underpinning that agenda that you've just described is Igwe Buike. Sorry if I mangled that a little bit. Strength in numbers,
yes,
or strength in unity, as is the translation. Can you expand on that? Because that kind of unity is needed in a time such as this. What exactly does that mean for your campaign?
Yeah, you know that democracy is essentially about the people, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And so the greater number of people that you win over to your side, also says a lot about what you're able to achieve. Now, with the number of people supporting him, like I pointed out, it's a debate, a healthy one at that, between those who think that we should remain in our ethnic cocoon and people who think that we should open up, as we have always done as people who are Republican by nature. When you talk about a president from the southeast, for instance, we cannot make a president ourselves. We need strength, we need unity, we need hands of fellowship across the Niger. And that is what the Igwebike mantra stands for, that we need other people, other component parts of Anambra State, of the country, for us to even agitate to produce a president. Then within Anambra State, the Igwebike is a movement that has replaced what ABGA ought to be, because people derisively call ABGA Aguleri People's Grand Alliance instead of the All Progressives. By the way, I was also a member of that party. But when it became, an instrument for ethnic chauvinism, some of us thought that no, we had to take our leave, and the number keeps growing. So the number that gets converted to the Igwebike philosophy is such that even the number 2 man in the state has keyed into that philosophy. And as the days go by, more and more people are won over because they believe that governance should not be a one-man show as we currently see with the current governor. When the governor travels, every other thing in the state comes to a standstill. But with the Igwebike mantra, reviving the local government system, that is getting people involved in the act of politics and not be aloof and say, well, it's their thing. A lot of people are already sold on the Igwebike mantra, and we are sure that as we move on, we are taking the whole state along, and before long, the entire Southeast, the narrative will change. And you know, our symbol, the broom, shows strength in unity. That's essentially what Igwebike is about.
Okay. So So there are many problems in Anambra State. I want us to talk about the problems. Number one will be creation of jobs for a lot of young people in the state. Number two will be urban and rural planning. Number three will be agriculture. Those are three fundamental parts of the problem. Number four will be the case of erosion in your state. These are just some of the problems. If you are to do like an FAQ about Anambra, these four items will come up. How does your governorship candidate intend to solve all of this problem?
Let me begin with the urban and regional planning. 3 days ago, we were in Oka North and South federal constituency on campaign. But even besides that, a lot of us are here in Oka. Oka is now impassable. You spend man hours navigating within Oka. A journey ordinarily that would take you 10 minutes, you see traffic snares that take up to 2 hours within Oka. Now, what is the problem? The problem is that the ABGA administration failed or neglected to go into development of the settlements around Oka. When a city is growing, you begin to think about how to develop, the satellite towns around the federal capital, the state capital territory. But that has not happened. So Dr. Andy Uba has it as one of his cardinal programs, the development of satellite towns so as to free Oka from the urban jungle it is gradually but steadily turning into. If you go into Oka, there are no roads, but it's a common heritage. As our state capital, Oka belongs to all of us. I am from Anambra North Senatorial Zone, where the governor hails from. No matter what part of the state you come from, the state capital belongs to all the indigenes and residents of that state. You can do your findings. Oka has been left in such a parlous state that Governor Obiano did not reconstruct, rehabilitate, not to talk of construct any new road within Oka city. I stand to be corrected on that, and I want them to tell us what street. So in Oka right now, you choose which pothole to go into, because on both sides of the road are craters that you decide which one is lower in depth, and you glide in. So one of our cardinal programs is development of satellite towns and cities around Oka. You talk about agriculture. These are also part of our 10-point agenda. I come from a rural agrarian community, which is Ogbaru local government. Now, the foodstuffs that come out from Ogbaru and other Omambala area of Anambra North, these foodstuffs do not get to the markets on time, and so many of them get spoiled. How is it that the only major road in Ogbaru, the Onitsha, Atani, Osomala, Oguibele to River State border road, which Governor Peter Bid has done about 70% of, would you believe that in 8 years, Governor Willie Obiano did not add a kilometer to that road? The road is still in the state it is. Would you believe that Anambra West local government that borders Governor Willie Obiano's Anambra East, the local government headquarters of Anambra West is Nzam. There is no road leading to Nzam. He flagged off that road, abandoned it, so the local government does not function. Nobody goes to work there. Send your reporters and find out. So if he could not, construct roads to link these local areas from where the foodstuffs come from, then what are we talking about? So as part of the agricultural revolution of the Senator Andy Uba, campaigns, we have promised these people that one of the first things we will do for a place like Nzam is to flag off and complete their roads. The local government must be linked. There is no electricity. We are not even talking about rural electricity. In this day and age, some communities do not have electricity, no power supply, and we have a government in place. So our agricultural policy is tailored towards encouraging youths to go into farming, and we provide them with the requisite support to do that. And not just do that, you must also create avenues for this for their harvest to be sold at a profit. When the thing is stocked in there, after a time, it's a giveaway.
Afam. Okay, well.
Yes.
How optimistic are you about even the whole idea of this election taking place in the first place? Because there are persons who have said that because of the fear, because of security fears, the anxiety so far generated, that there will be voter apathy, that persons will not come out. Now, even if they come out to vote, are you so confident that your candidate stands a chance, considering the fact that the opposition is already saying he's not a candidate, and that if he shows up as a candidate, at the end of the day, the law courts would, state something otherwise, and that in any case, any attempt by the ruling All Progressives Congress, deploying over 34,000 policemen to, assistant inspector generals and all of that, would not be allowed to have any effect in favor of your party. What do you say to all of that?
Well, I say saw grapes again. While we are moving forward and looking ahead to the elections, we would not want to be drawn back 4 months hence. If they are talking about primaries that produce Senator Uba, I think that APGA has a worst-case scenario where they gleefully disqualified sitting State Assembly and House of Representatives members. Once you qualify to stand elections for legislative office, you can stand for any election, be it even the presidency. So I will find it curious that instead of removing the logs in their own eyes, that busy searching for specks in ours. Well, some of these cases are in court and will be sub judice to discuss in details. But I do know that the APGA primaries with just 1,500 people began in the morning and in a single venue and ended late in the night. The PDP primaries with just under 300 delegates began in the morning in a single venue and ended in the night. And then the APC primaries, which is the direct primaries, in 326 far-flung wards, and then we started in the morning and ended same day. Yet, they are talking about it. But people who congregated in one venue, we are not able to conclude the process. So it goes to no issue. When they say he's not a candidate, I thought that they would have provided proof, because he who asserts should prove. So they do not have anything to tell us. For a sitting governor who wants to bring his successor, I think he will be running on his records. He should be telling us that because he has done ABC, the person coming after me would do much more. That is not the case here. Then talking about fears for the elections. Yes, we appeal to our brothers of the IPOB that no elective office is, as former President Jonathan famously said, is worth the life of any single individual. Which is why even at the height of the insecurity, the Dr. Andy Uba had the good conscience to suspend his campaigns. And APGA was gloating. They were all over the place. On the day Dr. Chike Akunyili was killed in broad daylight, they were campaigning on the streets and boasting about it. But as soon as the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, made mere mention of state of emergency, peace returned to the state. So I would want people to at least put 2 and 2 together and know who has been part of the insecurity in the state. If you are just told that if peace does not return, there are likelihood of a state of emergency being declared, and then all of a sudden we'll no longer hear about shootings. Having said that, for the elections on November 6, we are quite confident that it will hold. Yes, there might be voter apathy in major cities, but these elections are localized elections in wards, in communities, in villages. Polling units, maybe in the primary school or in front of some other public buildings within a community. The people will freely go and vote. But speaking for myself, I think that in the cities, which is also why we need security in those major cities to at least encourage people to fulfill their civic obligation. Because if we sit and do nothing, the wrong person might just get elected. And talking about federal might or ruling party, we are not the ruling party in this state. ABGA is the ruling party. And they are the ones who are actually trying to use the machineries of state. They prevent people from using public institutions and buildings for their campaigns. But nonetheless, we are moving on. So they're actually the people, who are scared of the stature and personality of Senator Andy Uba. When one person defects, they now tell you he has no electoral value. I challenge them to point to even one local government chairman who has defected to ABGA. But we have had senators, both serving and former. We have had House of Representative members, serving and former. We have state assembly members, serving and former, local government chairmen, and the likes. Are you saying that all these people do not have followers? It is not enough to go on the social media, and try to tarnish the image, candidate and be running campaigns of calumny. We do not answer them. We speak to the issues. We will continue to do that until the close of campaigns. And certainly, Igwebike is coming. Help is on the way for the people of Anambra.
Well, thank you very much, Afam Ogene. We wish your candidate and your good self and other members of your team the very best as Indy Anambra goes to the polls on November 6th. But you can be sure that at this end, we will be watching developments. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Ruben and your team. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.